My interpersonal skill that I'm focusing on is conflict resolution. My next effort that I was using to work on my conflict resolution was taking account that in a conflict, my feelings are not the only feelings that are involved. So, in my opinion, this effort and my active listening effort were my top two most successful. If you're in the middle of a conflict with somebody and you are only taking account your feelings, the conflict's really never going to get solved because, kind of like in active listening, you need to make sure that everybody's feeling heard. And if you're only thinking about yourself, then you really can't solve anything. You must be open to how everybody else is feeling and listening to what everybody's feeling about the conversation or the situation. You may think that the conflict is solved, and you might get to the end of conflict and one person may not have felt heard. They may have felt that their feelings were pushed to the side and what they felt or thought was being pushed away and that it didn't matter. And that even if you feel like the conflict was resolved, if there's somebody that is left out that doesn't feel that it was resolved, then it's really not. And it's going to be a long-term conflict at that point. There has been multiple times lately where I have had to make sure that I've listened to other people's feelings. I have a baby coming, so that involves family. So even though I may not want people over right away, we're kind of like finding a meet in the middle type thing where thinking of, oh, well, they're still going to want to meet their grandchild or their cousin, things like that. So it's kind of like meeting in the middle, but at the same time still understanding how they must understand how I feel, and then I have to take account, well, maybe they might feel a certain way about the situation as well, even though it may be hard. Or maybe if I'm not feeling like having company over, but everybody else is, then you kind of have to realize that my feelings aren't the only ones that are involved. There's other people's feelings, people that want to hang out, like what they want to do, and you just have to meet in the middle. But sitting down and having that conversation has really helped me with when you sit down and everybody discusses how they feel, and that helps the conflict be resolved. Because if you're holding back what you have to say, then that could be like a big part in the conflict resolution. So you can't really hold back on what you have to say and how you feel. Another one of my successes was we had some crazy drama at work because we were all the same age and we're all girls, and it kind of just happens. Even if you're not intentionally causing conflict, it just happens sometimes. But we ended up all sitting down and every single person was allowed to explain how they felt. And that was super important in our resolution because it did end up getting resolved. But if everybody didn't, involve themselves in that conversation, or if they did hold back, then it could have just kept going on and been long term, which we don't want. Now, even though in my example of when I was talking about my husband wanting to have people over, but I was just too tired didn't really want to have people over, I did take account in everybody's feelings and what everybody else wanted rather than just what I wanted, and the conflict did end up being solved. Even though it was a little bit hard for me at first, I would consider it a success because it all worked out in the end and everybody's feelings were involved and nobody felt left out.